Two questions. Do you deserve to be where you currently are in life? And do you think that you deserve all of the accomplishments that you've achieved so far? Well, if you answered no to either one of these, or maybe even both of them, you probably have something called imposter syndrome. According to Google, imposter syndrome is defined as the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. A pretty lengthy definition if you ask me. In other words, it's when you feel like you don't deserve something such as an award, and you might even feel kind of like a bit of a fraud. But why is it that we can sometimes, or in some cases, chronically have these feelings of inadequacy, even though we have a pretty good track record that proves that we are deserving of our current position in life? Well, it's due to the simple fact that we know so much about ourselves and what's going on in our own minds, but we really don't know much about other people at all. You might feel as though you do know quite a lot about the people who are close to you. My question to you is, do you really? As much as we like to think that we do know some people in incredible depth, we'll never be able to know what's really going on inside their heads. We can only know our own thoughts, and we can never know what's going on in the minds of others. This is kind of what creates the feeling of imposter syndrome, because we're only ever presented with a small fraction of who another person really is. What we see of another person is only what they choose to show us. You can think about it like social media. We pick and choose what we want to post to portray ourselves in a certain way, just like we choose what beliefs, characteristics and thoughts we share with others. So in a way, just like how social media usually only shows the highlights of someone's life, we usually only choose to show people the good attributes of ourselves, and we try to hide the negative aspects of ourselves from the world. And to top it all off, because we only see the best attributes of others, and we know all of our own negative attributes, we can start to feel quite alone in our imposter syndrome. It seems as though everyone around you is perfect and that you're the only one that's flawed. Because of this, we hide those flaws from the world, and we have a perpetual fear of being exposed or found out for not being deserving of our current attainments. However, if you've ever experienced imposter syndrome yourself, I can assure you, you're not alone. Research suggests that more than 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some point in their lives. That means, at the very least, 7 out of 10 people that you know also have that sense of inadequacy that the majority of us have. So it turns out imposter syndrome isn't actually that weird at all. It's actually quite normal. And I guess that means I'm normal, maybe. On a side note, I have no idea what the lighting is like here. I'm just gonna go with it and hope for the best. Okay, even if I'm not normal, I too have experienced this imposter syndrome in my life. I actually still have these recurring feelings of inadequacy today. You know what? So I'll share a little personal experience of mine with you guys. I want to be authentic here, so I won't be needing this. Oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. That was a nice cut though. Look at that. I have no script here, I'm literally just talking to the camera now. Story time. Well, it's kind of a story time, kind of not. So for those of you who don't know, I've got an offer from Oxford University. Yes, I'm also very shocked. Maybe that's because of imposter syndrome, right? But to be honest with you guys, when I applied, I didn't even think I almost had a chance. It still kind of feels like that. It still kind of feels like Oxford is this out of reach thing that isn't in my ability. Even though I've got the offer, I still feel unworthy of it, and I don't understand why. We're going to the interview. So I go to Oxford for the interview. There's all of these other applicants around me who also got the interview offer. In my head, they're not nervous like at all. In my head, these people are utter geniuses because, wow, they got an interview offer from Oxford. But when I look back at it, I realized that I failed to bring it up to my mind that I was also there and I had also got the same interview offer as everyone else, which is really weird because surely it must have made sense like, oh yes, I'm here. If they deserve to be here, I should also deserve to be here. But apparently not. Actually, I made a few friends at my interview, and one of them, I asked him, does he feel the same way? I asked him, do you feel like you should be here? And he said no. And that's when I kind of realized like, okay, it's not just me, this guy thinks the same thing. And I went around asking the same thing to everyone else. And it turns out everyone was like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. Like, I don't even know how I got the offer. I don't even think that I passed the entrance exam. I don't know why I'm here. Literally everyone. Maybe it's just a coincidence that everyone I asked had a kind of imposter syndrome. They felt that they were kind of unworthy of being there, but I highly doubt that, simply because the odds of me having spoken to a small minority that have imposter syndrome is really low. So it seems to me that the majority had imposter syndrome. Most of us felt this shattering fear of kind of inadequacy, that we weren't good enough for, well, Oxford. Behind me there is actually my offer from Oxford, like the actual letter that they posted to me. You know, it motivated me to revise, and then exams were cancelled. That's a separate video. But back to imposter syndrome, well, I still don't feel like I deserve to have that letter on my door. And that's not me being humble about it. That's me truly believing that I don't deserve it. And that's probably exactly how the majority of Oxford applicants feel or have felt in the past. The way I see imposter syndrome and the way I like to look at it is I see it as the fear of not being good enough. Because if you think about it, imposter syndrome is this feeling of perpetual unworthiness, which is kind of a fear of not living up to the image that everyone sees you as. Moving on to the ripped scripts. It's fine, I have another copy, guys. Right here. So I guess that's a little story about my cahoots with imposter syndrome, and I guess a bit of background about me, which I haven't actually done on this channel, so it's nice to be a bit more authentic. Kind of. I was really rambling there. Let's move on. Since it's so common, it's not surprising that a lot of celebrities have reported experiencing imposter syndrome at some point in their lives. Emma Watson had it, Ryan Reynolds had it, Serena Williams had it, Jennifer Lopez had it, and even the Albert Einstein himself reported having experienced imposter syndrome later on in his life, which is absolutely crazy. One of the best scientists in history had imposter syndrome. Even he felt unworthy to be where he was, even though he allowed humanity to advance much further than it would have without his ideas. So now you know what imposter syndrome is, why it comes about, and how common it actually is. How do we overcome it? It's definitely not an easy feat, and I'm not even sure if you can eliminate that feeling of unworthiness from your life in totality. However, you can definitely reduce it. I think that a good start would be to realize that everyone is flawed in a multitude of ways, and that we're all just trying to figure out this life thing together. That might sound a bit cheesy, but there's definitely truth in that statement. No one has the answers in life, and no one really knows what they're doing. So maybe the next time you feel the fear that you're not good enough, try to remember that everyone around you probably also feels like they're not good enough. And that simple thought can be relieving, simply because it reminds us that no one is perfect and everyone has their doubts about their own ability and how capable they are. So if you ever do get this feeling of imposter syndrome, you might want to think again. Maybe you actually do deserve the things that you've achieved in your life. You might be more capable than you think. Thanks for watching. Here we arrive at the end of yet another video in this format. I'm hoping you guys like this. I honestly still don't know what to do with lighting. Like, this thing is reflecting off my glasses, if you can see, and it's quite annoying. If you enjoyed the video or you gained a new perspective from it, I'd really appreciate it if you can click the like button, simply because it helps me out, because it recommends my video to other people, so I can get more clicks. If you have any of your own tips to kind of help tackle imposter syndrome, just leave it down in the comments, because I like comments, because that also helps me get more clicks. Because if you comment on this video, YouTube sees that you're engaging with me. I get more clicks because they push it in front of more people. So yeah, get me those clicks, guys. Click, that's not a click. If you want to say hi, that works too. If you like what you see, check out my channel for more videos like this and join me on my journey to finding fulfillment in life and true happiness. Because that's kind of what my channel is about. Well, it is now, and now you know, because I've never actually said that, but that's what it is. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.